DreAllDay.com.
Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. Topic of this video is a relatively simple concept. This is something that I sent out in my daily motivation text that I send every day for free. If you don't get that text, then all you got to do is text me at my number, which is 305-384-6894. Text me right now, and you can let me know the best thing you got from this vid. But also, you'll be in my texting community once you text me, and every day when I send that message out, you'll get it. And anyway, here was the topic. It was successful people are, let me back up, unsuccessful people, less successful individuals, only move themselves to action when they are forced into action. Whereas successful people are able to move themselves into action on their own volition just because they say, you know what, there's something that I need to do. It's not being forced upon me. I don't have to do it right now, but I'm going to do it right now anyway. That's one of the main differences. There are other differences, but this is one of the main differences between the successful and the unsuccessful. And here's why this matters so much, because I talk to people all the time. Like, I have a coaching program, I have a university. That's the place where you work with me directly, work on your game university. I'll tell you about that later. And I talk to people every single day who are, they're saying all the right things about wanting to be successful. Or somebody will say, well, I want to make more money in my business, or maybe I want to start a new business, or I want to move up in my career, or it may be something that's more intangible that they want help with. Like, hey, I got to get the right systems and processes together in my business, or I need to step up just what I'm doing personally. My confidence is not where I need it to be. I'm not as mentally tough as I would like to be. I'm not as disciplined or consistent as I like. I'm procrastinating too much. I need to get in better shape. I need someone who can help me kind of keep a foot in my ass so I do what I need to do. I hear these kind of things from people all the time, and they say that they want to do these things and they're ready to do something about it. That's how they end up having a conversation with someone like myself, because they know they want to do something about the situation at hand. But then when it comes time for them to really commit, and by commit, what I mean is they need to invest in themselves so they can come into, get the help that they need, whether that means hiring a coach, joining a program, get into a group program, hiring a trainer, whatever it is they need to do in order to actually commit to this thing that they're talking about. People will come up with all kinds of justifications for why to not do anything, why to stay in the same spot that they're in. Like, I've talked to people who are, for example, I'll give you an example. A person who wants to become an entrepreneur. So I was talking to a person who's working and by the way, if you're a person who I've spoken to and you fit this example, you're not the only one. There's probably like 30 of you. You just happen to be one of them. And I was talking to a person who's working a full-time job. They are unsatisfied with their full-time job. They have thought about over the years, key phrase, to maybe start their own thing and do their own thing through the internet, maybe making social media content, and then eventually morphing that into it being a business and then making money from doing that thing. They have thought about it for years. That's the whole phrase. Thought about it for years, right? They get in a conversation with me. They know what I'm doing. They know I'm going to make them an offer. I make them an offer. I say, this is the investment. First of all, we had a conversation. They tell me all these things. I say, all right, this is what we're going to do. You need this. I tell them exactly what they need, how it's going to work, what we're going to do. I say, can you see how this can help you address your needs? They say yes. I say, all right, this is the offer, this is how it works, this is the investment, all of this stuff. The person was a little bit uncomfortable with the amount of the investment, which is fine. That happens. I made investments where I was uncomfortable with the amount of the investment. So there's nothing wrong with you if you're uncomfortable with the amount, because most people usually don't do this kind of stuff, right? So what this person says is and we're having this conversation. From this point that I made the offer, the conversation continues. And I'm telling them, well, look, I understand, and I'm going over all my stuff, my sales stuff, right? And this person says at one point in the conversation, and I've had many people say this very thing at some point in the conversation when they're trying to basically justify, because first of all, they know they need to make a change, right? They know they need to do something. They get on a call with somebody like me. It doesn't have to be me, it could be anybody. Or they go to a website or whatever, and they see, all right, this thing can actually solve my problem. Then when they realize what they're going to have to commit in order to solve the problem, they're uncomfortable making the commitment. It's not that they don't want to make the change. They want to make the change. They're just uncomfortable with the commitment that is required to make the change. So then they start talking themselves out of the commitment. They start giving themselves logical justifications for why they don't need to make the commitment. So this person said, and some of you have said this, something along these lines. They said, well, maybe if I could just, do some things and work on it on my own for a while, maybe I can kind of get some traction and get going. All right, let me tell you why that's a ridiculous thing for this person to say. It's a ridiculous thing for somebody like you to say. It's a ridiculous thing for somebody like me to say. And I'm going to use myself as an example in a second. If you could do it on your own and solve the problem on your own, you never would have come as far as getting in a conversation with someone who could help you solve the problem. Because clearly, before you got to the point of having a conversation with someone who could help you, you already tried to do it on your own. You thought about what you could do on your own. You looked around for other solutions. You looked for ways that you could do it with as little friction and as little discomfort as possible. You already looked around for all those options. You couldn't find anything. So finally, you got in a conversation with someone who is going to possibly help you, and this is the next easiest thing for you to do. You tried everything else. Those didn't work. So you went step by step. So you got to this step that, all right, this is the next easiest thing for me to do. So you already know that you can't do it by yourself. That was the first thing you tried. And we all know this. We all know this. So you wouldn't even be in a conversation if that was the situation. And this person said that, and unfortunately what's going to happen with this person, they ended up, long story short, they talked themselves out of doing anything. They don't make a commitment. They do nothing. I can't help them because they won't commit. And then what's going to happen is a year is going to go by, 5 years are going to go by, 6 months are going to go by. The person's going to be in the same spot, telling themselves the same story. And what makes it worse is because they talk themselves out of doing something, then all they do is become more steadfast in this bullshit agreement that they have made with themselves that, oh, if I just do this, this, and this, which they already tried and already doesn't work, then everything's going to work out, which we know is not going to happen. And the whole point of this is successful people are able to overcome their logical bullshit. This is what successful people do. Unsuccessful people and successful people, we have several things in common. One of them is that we all have logical bullshit in our minds. One piece of logical bullshit is when you have tried to do certain things on your own, failed, couldn't do it, you know you need to go get some help, but then because you're uncomfortable investing in the help, you go back to the logical bullshit. Well, what if I just do it on my own? Maybe I'll figure it out. Well, mofo, if you could do it on your own, why are you talking to me? We already know you can't do it on your own. You know you can't do it on your own. That's why we're talking. And listen, even as myself, I join coaching programs. I go to conferences and buy tickets to events. I get into paid masterminds, and I invest a lot of money into these things, not because I like to just give money to other people. I'd rather keep my money than give it to somebody else. If I could do everything on my own, I'd just do it on my own, and I'd just be the master of the universe, and I wouldn't have to invest in anything because I'm just that genius. Nobody's that smart. Nobody's that good. Nobody is that physically capable. So when I invest in other programs, even when those investments are more than I expected, even when they make me uncomfortable to make that kind of financial commitment, I still make the investment. Why? Because I already know, I've already verified that doing everything on my own or trying to do things on my own doesn't work. I already tried. If I could do it on my own, why would I even get in a conversation with somebody who's going to sell me something to help me do the thing if I could do it by myself? Why would I give you money to do something that I could do by myself? Doesn't make any sense. We know it doesn't make any sense. You know it doesn't make any sense. I know it doesn't make any sense. Everybody who's not watching this video knows that it doesn't make any sense. But this is my whole point. All of us human beings have a preponderance of logical bullshit in our minds, and the only thing that separates the winners from the losers is the winners are able to overflow or overwhelm their logical bullshit and do what they need to do, whereas unsuccessful people, they succumb and they submit to their logical bullshit and they end up not doing what they need to do. So I kind of gave you two ideas here. I might title this video, I might just talk about the logical bullshit, because that's actually what I'm talking about here. And the whole point is, successful people move themselves to the action of shooting down their logic, bullshit logic, and doing what they need to do, whereas unsuccessful people fail to do this and they let their bullshit logic control them. So are you controlling it, or is it controlling you? That's the question that you got to ask yourself. Remember, I was listening to Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich. And I was listening to some of his lectures that he did later on in his career after his book took off and he became famous. He talked about how he used to drink. He would drink at some points in his life, alcohol. And he said, I would have a drink every now and then, but then when I realized, no, it wasn't drinking. He was talking about cigars. He would smoke cigars. He said, and when I realized that the cigars were smoking me, I had to stop smoking cigars because I wasn't in control of the cigar. The cigar was in control of me. And that's the same thing for you when it comes to food, if you're eating too much, smoking, if you're smoking something too much, alcohol, if you're drinking too much, logical bullshit, if you're telling yourself too much of it, procrastination. Are you controlling it, or is it controlling you? Successful people are in control and they're on top of the stuff that's happening, whereas unsuccessful people are not in control and the stuff is on top of them. So the question you got to ask yourself is, which one applies to you? And you should be asking yourself this over and over again all the time in your life, because you got to continually check yourself for the nonsense, because the nonsense will slowly, it will insidiously creep its way into your life and slowly take over and overwhelm you in ways that you didn't even recognize it was taking over your life, if you don't catch it, if you're not vigilant about it, if you're not on watch for making sure that this isn't happening to you in your life. So that's the point that I want you to get from this video. Overcoming your logical bullshit. We all got it. All right, by the way, as I said, text me. You want to get my daily motivation text I send out for free every single morning to anyone who's in my text community. All you got to do is text me at my number, 305-384-6894. The number's down below in the description. And secondly, Work On Your Game University. That's the place where you can work with me directly. That's the only place where you can work with me directly. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. The link is down below in the description. You'll see everything you need to do to schedule a call with me, get into the university, get started, and let's get working on you overcoming your logical bullshit so we can get to the actual good stuff that you want to get to in your life. Work on your game. Dre all day.